Hello everybody and welcome back to Bandwagon Sports. Today I am here with another prospect report, third of the year so far, and this time I'm doing it on Moose Jaw Warriors defenseman Denton Mateychuk. This is a really big riser for me currently in my rankings. He's playing outstanding in the WHL as a, smaller 5'11" blue liner, and I just really wanted to bring some, representation to Mateychuk because I think he's having such an outstanding season, and he may even be the best defenseman in this draft class so far this season. I'm not saying he is because there's a couple other guys that are playing really good as well, but Mateychuk is definitely top 3 in my opinion, and he's definitely in that conversation. So without further ado, let's hop into the video. So let's start with getting into Denton's personal information. So he was born July 12th, 2004. He is a left-handed shot defenseman, 5'11", 187 pounds, born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and he currently plays for the Moose Jaw Warriors, and honestly his rankings are kind of all over the place. He goes from like 18, 24, mid to late first round pick to being in the mid to late second round. So honestly, rankings on Mateychuk right now are kind of all over the place, but I do have him in the top 20 right now. I believe he's a very talented blue liner, and he's a guy who might even be able to move into the top 10 by the end of the season. And now let's get into the statistics for Denton Mateychuk. This is one of the biggest reasons why I have him ranked so high. Currently for the Moose Jaw Warriors, in 18 games played, he has 6 goals, 11 assists for 17 points. He's a +5. He's been in 1 fight, so he has 5 penalty minutes. And honestly, looking at this stat line, there's a lot to like here. Mateychuk is a blue liner that kind of scores a lot of goals. Almost like a Jacob Chychrun is what I'm going to compare him to in the NHL in terms of goal-scoring defensemen. Because Chychrun scores a lot of goals. Last year he did. The year before that he had 12 as well. So Chychrun's a big shot blue liner. Denton Mateychuk is very similar, and he is 3 inches shorter than Chychrun as well. Sitting at 5'11", Chychrun is 6'2". But even going back to his kind of bantam league play, AAA play, he had 23 goals in 18-19. He had 13 goals in 19-20. And this year so far he has 6 goals in 18 games. Denton Mateychuk could be a guy who finishes with around 15 to 20 goals from that blue line, and also as a point-per-game defenseman, which honestly is very impressive. You go and look at some point-per-game defensemen back over the past few drafts. Guys like Bowen Byram is the biggest one that comes to mind for me coming out of the WHL, and that's really the only one in the WHL that has been point-per-game, and Bowen Byram was phenomenal. He looks phenomenal in the NHL with Colorado right now, so this stat line, there's a lot to like about it. Sitting at 17 points in 18 games played for Denton Mateychuk. When it comes to tournament play for Mateychuk, he got into 3 games last year for the Canada U18 squad. Didn't put up any points. The stat line is 0 all across the board, and I didn't really watch much of that tournament in terms of Canada playing, so I couldn't really tell you how he did in that tournament. Maybe if someone in the comment wants to chip in down below, they can, but personally, I'm not going to lie and say that I watched that tournament a whole lot. I did not watch that tournament for Canada at all. But let's get into some things that I've kind of seen from interviews from Denton Mateychuk. From when he was younger and up to now. When he was younger, just getting drafted into the WHL, maybe like 16 years old, he was a very kind of, energetic kid, He was really eager, really excited to get out there. Watching an interview from just last year, he is very humble. He's really humbled himself. Real fine gentleman. I really do like Denton Mateychuk's personality. I think that he's a great off-ice presence. He could be an on-ice leader, I think. And he really does look up to a lot of guys around him on that Moose Jaw squad. He said guys like Ryder Korzak and Damon Hunt, who are, 2 NHL draft picks right there. So those are definitely great guys to look up to. And even in his interviews, the one when he was 16, he compared himself to Drew Doughty, which I don't really see a lot of Drew Doughty in his game. His most recent interview that I watched, he compared himself to Rasmus Dahlin, and I can agree with that a lot more. I think both him and Dahlin are, Dahlin's, 6 foot or whatever, but they're both kind of smaller-ish defensemen, really good skaters, really aggressive in the offensive zone. Big forecheckers. I mean, Denton Mateychuk loves to lead the rush up the ice. I think that's one of his strong suits, really just leading that rush up the ice. Kind of like a Brant Clark last year. He can just kind of lead the rush into the offensive zone. He's stable. He can get back. He's a good skater. He has great offensive tools. He has good awareness out on the ice, and I think all that is really great. And I definitely do see a bit of a Rasmus Dahlin comparison. Obviously, a former #1 pick, Rasmus Dahlin is. but Denton Mateychuk does share some similar, capabilities, does share some similar traits with Dahlin that I saw in both Dahlin's draft year and now Mateychuk's draft year. So I just want to talk a little bit about how good Denton Mateychuk's season has been so far from the blue line. He currently sits third in defensive scoring, just behind guys like Ben Zloty and Carson Lambos. And here's the real interesting to me. I'm looking here on Quaint Hockey. I'm looking at the defenseman scoring leaders. And the next player eligible to be drafted this year, the next 17-year-old, is Kevin Korchinski all the way at 20. So Denton Mateychuk is really in a league of his own in terms of how far ahead he is in WHL scoring compared to his draft class. And even looking at the WHL leaders, I did find a very interesting comparable. I can compare a guy like Mateychuk kind of to a guy like Ty Smith, who, if you remember last year, had some great success in his rookie year. Ty Smith was excellent last year. And I think that Denton Mateychuk is going to kind of be similar to a guy like Ty Smith. I think that Mateychuk is a little bit better defensively, maybe not as good offensively as well. I feel like Mateychuk has a bit more of a two-way balance than Ty Smith, and he's also a little bit bigger, but overall, looking at a WHL comparable, Ty Smith is pretty perfect. But that was just a little note. Mateychuk, third in defensive scoring in the WHL, putting up great numbers. So yeah, Denton Mateychuk, you get the gist of it so far with the statistics, but now I'm going to dive a little bit into what you see on the ice. And I've already spoke a little bit about what I see on the ice with Mateychuk, a very fluent skater, great offensive instincts, an excellent shot, excellent passing game. The defense is iffy at times, as it is usually with smaller defensemen. But like I said, a Ty Smith comparable, a Rasmus Dahlin comparable. I think that Denton Mateychuk can come into the NHL one day, be a potential 40, 50, 60 point guy, and maybe have a solid all-around game as well. Only time will tell whether he will work out a two-way game, whether he will actually be an impact at the NHL level. But I currently do have Mateychuk as my number one defenseman in this draft class, just because he hasn't really slowed down all year. He's looked great all season, and really the U18s I think are going to make or break Mateychuk's draft stock for me compared to guys like Simon Nemec, David Jiricek, Seamus Casey, Ty Nelson. There's really 3 or 4 other guys who could be the number one defenseman in this class. But currently I have Mateychuk at that spot just because of how well he has performed. Third in WHL scoring. He's an awesome goal scorer from the blue line. He shows, maturity on and off the ice. He's just an overall really great player, really great guy as well. And I just really like Denton Mateychuk, and that's why I have him ranked number 1. So that is going to do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please do leave a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to say this for the next few videos probably. Thank you all for 200 subscribers. It does really mean a lot to me. And, road to 250. Let's do it. Not going to happen this year, I don't think. But you know what? We're going to get there eventually. So let's do it, boys and girls. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Third prospect report of the season. I'm going to be making a few tonight. But this is the first one that I've made. So, again, just thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming by. And I will see you in the next video. But for now, bye.